You're listening to season 15 of the Virtual Tailgate, a media bullcrap production covering college football in the Atlantic Coast Conference. I'm Andrew.
I'm David.
I'm Geoff.
And I'm wearing a hat.
He's listeners, he's not. He's got a virtual hat.
Which is still a hat.
Be sure to join the tailgate on Facebook at Virtual Tailgate or email us at virtualtailgate@mediabullcrap.com. Geoff, talk to me about the True West.
Well, to long-term listeners here, I have to offer some apologies. I've tried to convince you over these years that if you buy these overpriced boots, it'll improve your life with the ladies. But is that your love life on the sidelines that the Covas would solve it? That if your luck with the other gender was on the rocks, that the Covas had what you were searching for? Well, my suggestion, go buy a plane ticket to Las Vegas because there's plenty of people specializing in therapy for those types of things. And like the Cova says, while we may not need more ACC teams in the West, we can always use more West in the ACC or something like that. So for those of you still considering buying these grossly expensive boots, I beg of you, do better, get help, and get laid.
That
Okay,
was the most beautiful PSA I've ever heard.
I feel like we needed the more you know after that.
Yeah.
Oh,
You know, that sounded great if you were like 2,000 miles away from it.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I can always do on the fly debugging if that's what you're really asking for here. And I don't think it is.
Anyway, I guess I'll go first. So my player of the week goes to Deuce Robinson.
Seamless transition.
Yeah.
Transition.
Well, you know, you had that awkward silence, and everyone was just looking at each other like, "Well, I don't want to touch the ball."
I don't want to touch. I don't want to touch that.
So Deuce Robinson, great first name, okay last name, 173 yards in the air, catching 2 touchdowns in the route of East Texas A&M. By the way, 160 of those receiving yards all came in the first quarter. So he probably could have just taken off the rest of the game after that point. Just saying.
He probably did take off the rest of the game after that.
Oh, that does me. Well, he got 13 yards somewhere else there, David.
Oh, goodness.
I'm going to give out a virtual tailgate game ball, as is a long story tradition here. Mine is going in a losing effort. I'm going to Boston College. Quarterback Dylan Lonergan had a monster day in the Eagles' double overtime loss to Michigan State. End of the day, 34 for 45 through the air, 390 yards, 4 touchdowns, almost enough to get the win in the non-conference matchup, but certainly enough to earn a game ball here on the virtual tailgate.
And for my game ball, I'm going to stick with the quarterback position as well. I'm going with Aaron Philo, who is or at least for one game, was the quarterback for the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Went at 21 of 28, 373 yards, a TD, and an interception against Gardner Webb. So you might say, well, why is this important? Maybe not so much for the team he was playing against, but for the fact that Haynes King, the quarterback that is supposed to be the starting quarterback for Georgia Tech, was interestingly out with a quasi undisclosed, I believe they said lower leg injury. You know how they get with these college football injuries. Long story, whether it was a tune up just to keep him from getting hurt more en route to their game coming up this week or something more serious, we don't quite know yet, but a good game for Aaron to show that he could fill in for Haynes King at least in this matchup against Gardner Webb, and to maybe get some experience leading into the game this week. We will see.
All right. And wrapping it up for the game balls, I desperately wanted to be a homer and give my game ball to Jamari Taylor with his 150 yards on the ground, and all 3 of UVA's offensive touchdowns on his 17 attempts. It was fantastic play. But whenever you lose to somebody who puts up almost the same numbers, you can't really give it out to the hometown guy on the loss. Hollywood Smothers absolutely dominated UVA in the second half of that game, helping the Wolfpack to come back. 140 yards, 2 touchdowns on 17 carries as well. It was a really a dominating performance. Really showed the NC State pivoted to two smothers in the second half and really got a lot done. And unfortunately, came out with the victory for those of us who care about our poor, pathetic UVA right now.
Andrew, can I? You guys may have followed this in the offseason. Did you all see the tampering allegations around Jamari Taylor and his recruitment?
No.
This is amazing. I'll send you the link, but basically the moral of the story is so Jamari Taylor transferred to UVA from North Carolina Central. But before he announced that transfer, Virginia Tech was, I guess, recruiting him, and they had an assistant coach who somehow turned up on the sideline of a North Carolina Central game and was like recruiting him on the sideline. So when he didn't commit to Virginia, he went to UVA. North Carolina Central's head coach came out and said he hopes Virginia beats Virginia Tech this year. It's awesome.
Wow.
I could not agree more.
Jeez.
It's
Jeez.
amazing. I'll send you the link.
Right. Jared.
Well, now we're going to move on to power rankings. Are brought to you by the Deep Thoughts on the Virtual Tailgate. As I go ahead and pull up my phone here and read this excerpt I found in, I believe, the Bible. I don't know which chapter or which verse, but I'm pretty sure it's in wonderful. Quote, "There is no bigger trip in life than trying to take a dump while drunk. You really don't know where the hell you are, but you're just enjoying the moment that you feel so much better. Don't question it. Just enjoy it."
Enjoy your day.
Perfect. Well done. All right. So with that, we got the power top 5 here. Brought to you.
All I can say is between that and Takova's, like, our listeners are in for some really inspirational podcasting tonight.
We're not even fully done yet.
I know. We got so much more to make. Anyway, number 1, we have Miami staying at the top, 45-3 win over Bethune Cookman. Congratulations to the Canes. Number 2, Florida State jumping up 3 spots after, beating the crap out of Texas A&M. I'm sorry, East Texas A&M, 77-3. I believe they got 70 of those points with 20 minutes to go in the second half. It was a pretty good beating. Number 3, Georgia Tech, staying where they are. Number 3, 59-12 win over Gardner-Webb. Number 4, Louisville jumping up 2 spots, 28-14 win over James Madison, JMU, on Friday night. Actually, a very good win for the Cardinals. And dropping 3 spots is the SMU Mustangs after a very tough loss to Baylor. In the old Big 12, Big 8 matchup, 48-45. Actually, old Southwest Conference matchup as well. Tough loss for the Mustangs. Bottom 3, boy, we have a very big newcomer here. Jumping up 2 spots is Wake Forest after their 42-10 win over Western Carolina. The big newcomer, my goodness, Virginia Tech dropping 7 spots after a shellacking second half, 44-20 to Vanderbilt at Lane Stadium in front of a crowd that I think was ready to watch something change and be improved upon. The first half, the Hokies looked competent. In the second half, they looked like absolute dung. At 17, Stanford, speaking of dung, boy, 27-3 loss to BYU, and I think Stanford is just trying to count down the days till the season's over. And Andrew Luck is probably thinking about it as the GM, thinking what the next step is going to be for that football program, because they got a long road ahead of them to just be, I think, not just relevant in football, but also just be somewhat competitive in this new NIL, era that we're in right now in college football.
Luckily for Stanford, Andrew Luck never leaves a job until the job is done, so he will certainly see it through there. Yikes. On that happy note,
I don't know. Do we have any sound drops here, Andrew? You got any sound drops? Do we have anything from Virginia Tech? Like anything from a certain Thomas the Tank Engine narrator? Because that was quite a performance they had this week as Jared sitting against Vanderbilt. I think it's worthy of some extra representation.
Sure, absolutely.
Oh, yes.
He clambered up, looked in, and nearly fell off in surprise. Someone defecated.
It sounded good until the second half of that clip got swallowed by the first half of that clip. Also, David, to your comment,
but the point was made, though. I mean that second half was just just a complete disaster.
And also, David, Andrew, Jeff, I'm calling the full authorities for what David's comment was right there because I just witnessed some murder. Um, you know,
Oh, well,
Andrew
I
Luck did
also
nothing wrong.
the angry the anger of the Vanderbilt coach continues to spill over. I do believe after the game was over, I heard him saying this.
But we don't play nobody.
All I know is this: that Vanderbilt and South Carolina play each other this week. I'm just looking at that. It's like, so what happened? What's the winner get? They get to claim the corpse of Virginia Tech football. I mean, it's just oh, golly.
There was somebody who was absent from all the power rankings too. Got on the scenes reporting about that.
Am I perfect? Nope.
It's true, Depo.
It's all true, Dabo.
Well,
It has been a while. I mean, given that we went the top 5, I mean, Andrew, you're the master of putting this information together. It would be quite a trip to see when's the last time you could have gone through the top 5 and not had Clemson make an appearance.
I have to see if the tools let me just ask that question now instead of
Yeah.
having to click through every single one. All right,
well,
let's enough about the past.
it is enough about the past. I was going to say the same thing. Let's look to the future here.
Great movie.
We've got some interesting matchups coming up this week. We're going to take a look at those in just a moment. But first, here's a quick look at where we stand on the season. After a monster recovery in week 2, Jared has clawed his way out of the cellar. That's why you'll all see he is sporting a new hat today. He's been splurging this week. He's now in third place at $583 in the black for the season. Andrew and Geoff are basically tied for the lead. Geoff is at 916, Andrew at 914, and unfortunately, I am bringing up the rear at $278. But still, all of us are ahead for the season. If history is any indication, this will probably be the last week that we can say that. So get your picks in now, boys. Lean times are likely coming. We're going to go first. Our first matchup this week. This is an interesting one. This game is at Miami, right? And Miami is playing host to the South Florida Bulls. So USF, big win over Boise State to open the season. Even bigger win over Florida on Saturday. Now they roll into a top 5 ranked Miami team looking to shock the world. And it looks like, well, I don't think any of us are picking USF to get the win. What do you guys see coming here?
Well, I see I don't think the Bulls. I mean, the Bulls are not a bad football team. They've kind of proven this at this point. They are a legitimate, you know, competent football team. Which, as a Hokie fan, it sounds crazy to say because I haven't seen one so far this year that I've been watching. But the Bulls, as you said, took care of Boise State when many thought they had no chance. They beat and upset Florida on a last-second field goal this past Saturday. Albeit Florida is probably very highly overranked in respect to their talent. But the fact is that the Bulls are playing hard, good football, and we still, with all due respect to the Canes, we understand they have the talent. We understand they have the personnel. We just don't understand, honestly. I still have my doubts about if they're an actually good football team because we have been burned by the Hurricanes so many times of saying this is the Hurricanes year. The U is back. We're gonna put some, we got some Canes over here, as they would like to say down there in South Florida in the parking lots before the football game. We got some we got some blizzards going on down here in the parking lot, depending on what the party scene's like, if you catch my drift. The point is this really going to be the time with the Hurricanes go ahead and get the job done? I still think yes, but with an 18.5 point spread, I think you still have to take those points from the Bulls. I think the Bulls do keep it within that range. I do think the Hurricanes win by about 14 or 15 points, but if you're going to give me 18 in the hook, yeah, I'm taking that.
Yeah, I'm gonna, I'll just kind of go with that because Jared and I are both feeling the same way about this game. No, I don't think either one of us, has a doubt that Miami pulls out the win in this game. But if you're to look at a Miami team that has played really well through 2 weeks of football, but one historically where we just keep waiting for the wheels to come off. Now it's a little bit early. It's a little bit early, right? Because normally the wheels come off sometime in October. So we're not saying they're going to lose this game, but a USF team played a really strong game against Florida last week. Came out, maybe they had to have the kind of the last second field goal down at the down the goal line to pull out the upset victory, but it was a victory nonetheless against at the time a top 25 ranked Florida Gator team. I just go back to 18.5 points is if you really have two top 25 teams playing each other, 18.5 points just feels so big. Like I cannot imagine that if USF is anywhere near worth what they showed last week against Florida, and if Miami is not this like world beating team that maybe you would have seen out of Alabama at their prime or something, that over 2 touchdowns. I mean, you're getting almost 2.5 you're getting basically 2.5 touchdowns in a top 25 matchup. I can't see it. So I mean I I firmly believe Miami wins this game, but gosh, if they win by three TDs, I mean that is a statement game for Miami, and I just do not see that happening.
I I can see 2 possible, like, outcomes for this game. One is that Miami wins this game by, like, 4 touchdowns, and the other is that they win it by less than 4 points. I don't know which one of those is actually more likely, and so I'm just gonna call it a wash and take Miami on the money line. I d you did not hear me say that they're going to lose this game, so it's a pretty safe bet. David, I feel like you're thinking about the same as me.
I really am. I don't have much doubt that the Hurricanes win this one. I think you're right that it's very possible that USF gives them a fight all the way through. I think it's also possible this feels like a Miami team that might kind of play with its food for a little while. And so I can see Miami like clearly winning the game, but winning it by 10-14 when they could have won by 3 scores or more. And so, maybe that looks like a backdoor cover for the Bulls. Whatever it is, I can't it's hard to gauge this. This is a I again, I think a very good Miami football team. It's also a USF team that is on the rise. I think right now, if the season ended today, USF would probably be the group of 5 participant in the college football playoff, right? I mean, it's a serious program. This would be a monster win if they could pull it off. I don't see that happening. I think Miami wins. Just have no idea how much it's by, so I'm taking Miami on the money line. Total hedge bet, probably the easiest pick of the week for me. And that brings us to a game that is also, I think, not an easy pick, though we all seem to be mostly in agreement about it. That's the Backyard Brawl. Pitt Panthers traveling down to Morgantown to take on the West Virginia Mountaineers. Two teams. It's hard to get a real good read on Pitt this year. They're undefeated on the season. Big win over Duquesne opening weekend. Convincing victory over Central Michigan this past weekend. Quarterback Eli Holstein already 8 touchdowns on the young season, looking in midseason form. Taking on a West Virginia team that looked really lackadaisical in a loss to the Ohio Bobcats on Saturday. Potentially 2 teams headed in a little bit different directions here. It looks like we are all over the homer pick of the Panthers. Anybody want to make the argument why Pitt wins this one so big? Andrew's changing his pick as we go.
I just looked at it. You guys all picked Pitt spread, and like, there's no reason to sit on the money line. Like, they're not going to win this game by only 1 point. The numbers have migrated vastly in Pitt's favor since the lines opened up. That's the one typical generous thing that I give to the rest of the guys here is that we only pick off of open and don't try to get the most up to date line. Um, I I think that this line opened at 1.5 just to drive some crazy betting because they knew that that like rivalry game people are going to be all over it. But like, yeah, Pitt looks like the far superior team here. I'm sure Geoff has a much better explanation than me as to why.
I mean, I don't have a whole lot different. I mean, this is a young season so far. I mean, Pitt's got I mean, Eli Holstein looks to be at least through 2 games, every bit of the of a solid starting quarterback for the Panthers. They certainly at least handled their business against Central Michigan, something that West Virginia couldn't say that they could do last week. And I do find it interesting that though with some of these that either makes us suckers like everybody else, or maybe we're smarter than the average better because none of us at least at this point knew that that line had moved. I believe it was like just looking quickly 5 points in Pitt's direction, and we were all over that minus 1.5 points. I mean, maybe we need to start keying into this. Jared, you can start placing some of this stuff early on when the lines come out. But yeah, this is a it's a yeah, I think David kind of summed it up. It's two teams that look like they're heading in opposite directions in this young season. Um, Pitt's definitely showing good movement on offense. Their defense has been interestingly really solid through the first two games. That's kind of a cornerstone of Pat Narduzzi's team, as he seems to always put together a tough defense. This is a West Virginia team that has struggled to move the ball this far this season. So I minus one Pitt minus 1.5. You kind of put all bets are off when you get into these kind of rivalry games like this one, but it's hard to see West Virginia hanging with Pitt the way that they showed up against Ohio last week.
Yeah, I would say overall, the one thing I'm going to add here is that, yeah, Rich Rodriguez has returned to West Virginia, the coach of the Mountaineers. Had that magical run back around '07, the infamous missed kick against Pitt, where if Pat McAfee, yes, that Pat McAfee had made his field goal kicks that were well within his range. West Virginia would have been playing for a national championship, and instead they missed it. It was LSU and Ohio State, I think, instead, and the rest is history on that front. Uh, this is a rebuilding season down up in Morgantown. I mean, this is a very rough team with Rich Rod trying to go ahead and mold the players and mold his team into his vision, and it's going to take time, probably a couple years minimum, to really get to at least bowl eligibility. I didn't even understand why it was so close of a spread to open. I mean, even if Pitt is just a mediocre team, I think they're going to go ahead and take care of business. I understand the Panthers had to go to Morgantown, but I think they can, just like in that infamous game many years ago, with less stakes here, of course. I think the Panthers go ahead and find a way to just take care of this and make this game just seem not even close by halftime. Honestly, I think it can get that ugly. Especially with Pat Narduzzi, knowing how crazy he is, he will remind his players how much the game means for the fan base of Pittsburgh.
Anybody want to add anything to that? The only thing I'll say is that it frightens me that we're all on the same page about both of these games, and I think the next thing we're gonna talk about, that fact makes me want to switch my pick to West Virginia because there's no chance that the 3 of you are all getting this right, but I don't see even being on the road, Pitt just looks like the much better, more complete team right now. And so I'm going with Pitt. I'll give the 1.5. I kind of agree with Jared. I think the Panthers run away with this thing.
It's scary when we're on the same page, isn't it?
It is, and I'm even more scared about this next matchup. This is our ACC game of the week. This is the Clemson Tigers, really stumbling out of the blocks this season. Lost that opening weekend contest in their Death Valley to LSU, and then really stumbled out the first half against Troy this past weekend. Ended up getting the win by 2 scores, but not an impressive performance by Clemson. They're gonna try to right the ship on the road at a Georgia Tech team that comes into the season with really high expectations. So far, they've gotten the job done. Question mark about whether Haynes King is back at quarterback for the Yellow Jackets. But what we saw this weekend was that even backup Aaron Philo had a monster game. Actually one of the greatest passing performances in Georgia Tech history that he had on Saturday. So not a big drop off there. This is another of those lines that has moved significantly. It opened at Clemson minus 7.5. I think the last one I saw was all the way down to 3 and a hook. By the time this publishes, heck, I don't know. Georgia Tech might be the favorites. Um, it looks like all of us like the Yellow Jackets. Geoff or Jared, tell us why you think Georgia Tech will cover the spread in this.
Well, if it's the 7 and a hook, I think Georgia Tech covers without a problem. I think it's definitely within a touchdown game. That 3.5 hook, if it's the current one, that one would make me pause and think about it. It is, again, it's still Clemson. You don't think Dabo's going to remember how they looked like crap at the first half of that football game? I'm sure he's not going to forget that. He's going to remind his players. I'm like, he's going to use his, well, dang gum, folks. It's the craziest thing ever. Well, shucks, like we think they're all bootlickers and go out there and get motivated. And they'll probably find a way to win by 30. That's the type of thing too. I'm also kind of like you, Dave, concerned about because Georgia Tech seems to be like the hot pick. College game day, I can easily see the majority of that panel say, "This is Georgia Tech's big game. This is their big moment. They're going to find a way to win this football game." And when people start thinking like that, that's when the blue bloods come out and they kick them right in the teeth. I can see. I'm kind of talking myself into it, and maybe you know what? I'm changing my pick. I'll take Clemson to go ahead and find a way to win this football game and cover the spread. So I'll take the 7. I'll take the plus. I'll take the -7 and the hook of this Clemson spread, and I'll say they'll all find a way to cover it. Give me Clemson.
This was amazing because you started out this take saying that Georgia Tech would easily cover the spread if it was
Yeah,
7.5. And
but I started talking through. I was like, yeah.
Oh, Jared is just an AI, guys. He doesn't know where he's gonna end whenever
You
he
know what it
starts.
is? It's the cap. It's the hat right here, man. It's just got some
Oh,
brain links, wavelengths, and all that crazy stuff up there.
Jeff.
I mean, I don't think I'm gonna talk myself into changing my pick like Jared just did because I actually think Jared was on the right track before he took that long dirt road that got him back to Clemson, covering or taking the 7.5. I think so. So I believe that the X factor in this, and the reason why I took the spread instead of buying fully into Georgia Tech is one, I'm not sure that Georgia Tech has shown quite enough to give the full belief that they're a better team than Clemson straight up. The other is the X factor that is what is Haynes King's status, as we talked about. For some reason in college, the injury reports are kept much closer to the vest than they are in professional sports. They'll say that they've got like a lower leg injury, and then you don't know until like the game's about to kick off whether they're actually going to play. Now, actually, Haynes King actually was supposedly warming up before the game last week. Now, obviously, they didn't need him against Gardner Webb. Shouldn't have needed him against Gardner Webb, so they let him have that rest. But does that mean that they selectively let him have that extra week to not re-injure something, or is there something more serious going on? But my gut tells me if he was warming up in that game that he probably plays in this game against Georgia Tech. How effective is he? Still to be determined. So all of that goes into I'm not sure how much Georgia Tech could beat Clemson by in this game, or if they will be able to beat them. But I will go back to one thing that David said. I believe it was last week, leading up to the game against Troy, and I forget what the spread was. And David mentioned that he didn't know if Clemson's offense could score enough points to beat Troy by whatever that spread was at that point. And it turned out to be true. And I go back to similar to the talk about the USF Miami game, is that if these two teams are this closely matched, and the way that Clemson's offense has struggled out the gate, that really brings that spread back in for me. Is that this game, maybe Clemson ends up finding a way to win this game by 5 to 7 points, but it really feels like the way that offense has struggled out the gate to start the season, it feels like a big stretch for them to win by more than a touchdown at this point in time. Just not been an impressive team through 2 weeks. Georgia Tech may not win this game, but I think they keep it close.
Jeff, I just want to share my favorite part of your take there was when you mentioned that Haynes King allegedly warmed up last week, as though maybe it was like a body double they had sent out there.
Well, all you have to do, I mean, well, they're wearing like pads and like a helmet. I mean, all you have to do is just find somebody that's the same body build and put the jersey on him, right?
I'm not gonna know the difference, that's for
I,
sure.
I mean, just make sure he doesn't take the helmet off. I mean,
Andrew, this is a situation where the brothers Van Gelder are just not going far enough, isn't it?
That is correct. But I'll let you have the bigger confidence in this. I'm gonna let you, like, drive that one.
I really do feel confident. I think, especially when a team goes on the road in the ACC, um, you've got to be clearly the better team to pull off a victory on the road. Clemson is not the clear better team here. In fact, I would argue that Georgia Tech is simply better than the Tigers are right now. And someone, I think maybe it was Jared, who said, like, hey, Clemson didn't forget how to be Clemson. I'm not sure that's true. If you've watched them the first couple of games, if you watched them last season where they've looked out of sorts. I don't know what all. I mean, they're still bringing in highly rated recruits here. There's clearly a ton of talent there, but something is off at Clemson. And I think Brent Key and these Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets take advantage of it. They look really good. They are dialed in. This is a monster game for them. I I think like, I don't think this is a matter of just covering the spread for the Yellow Jackets. They're playing to win the game, and they're going to do it. And I'll be very surprised if Clemson manages to knock them off. I think the Yellow Jackets win this one going away.
Yeah, I've got the same sort of pick here, and I think if there's a silver lining, at least for the folks here on this show, I think that we might get an like Tyler Redux out of Davo next week if they actually do lose the game. I don't think anybody was going to put Dabo on blast for beating LSU, but I think losing to LSU. But if he loses to Georgia Tech, I imagine that he's going to get some snarky questions, and we all know like Dabo's strategy in the offseason seems to have been to wish that it was 2019 again. And I don't think that we're going back to that time.
The dang on this thing.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, let's move on to our quickfire bets to wrap things up here. And I'm going to kick us all off with the safest bet of the century, if not the millennium. Certainly the safest bet in ACC history. SMU on the money line against whatever random terrible school they're playing this week. It's a minus 4,000 on the money line. I just don't want to bet on this game at a minus 29.5 point spread. So I'll just take my money back, please. And thank you, Jared. Next.
Well, we mentioned them earlier about how they dropped to the bottom of our power rankings here, very close to it. Virginia Tech has taken on ODU, and the Hokies have had some problems with the Monarchs in the few years they have played each other. Now, of course, that's when Virginia Tech has visited the Monarchs down in Norfolk. Monarchs are coming up to Blacksburg at Lane Stadium, 13.5, right? So take the Hokies? No. Take the Monarchs to cover. I think it will be a closer game than expected, and for many Hokie fans, one that probably want to forget again with some, let's just be honest, a lot of booze, because this Hokie fan is going to need it too. Geoff, you agree, right? You wouldn't even say anything crazy about this game.
I mean, I think to use David's phrase, you're not going far enough. Because this is a game where I want you all to remember one name, Colton Jones. This is the running back for ODU. Put up 10 rushes, 179 yards, and I believe 2 touchdowns against Indiana a couple weeks ago. So obviously he's getting it done on the ground against a top 25 team. I also want you to think about what that Vanderbilt team did to the Hokies on the ground, especially in the second half. Virginia Tech comes in 116th ranked rushing defense on the ground. I think there's a lot of things that are bad. Thank you, Andrew. I think there's a lot of bad things going on for the Hokies right now, but I think that rushing defense is really problematic.
I didn't type that.
Oh,
We were all waiting for the gopher and the bear
well,
taking a dump.
I was playing Jared. Jared's got ODU plus 13.5. I think ODU on the money line on that one. But moving on to more interesting things is a gopher and a bear are taking a dump in the woods. All right, so then the bear asks the gopher. He says, "Hey, gopher, do you ever have a problem with things getting stuck to you?" The gopher says, "No." So the bear clearly takes the gopher and wipes himself, and the California Bears go to 3-0 on the season, with that game against Minnesota on Saturday.
Okay.
A 2-for-1. A 2-for-1.
Literally.
Beat that value.
Oh man. All right. My quick fire bet, Andrew, is I think I really like this Boston College team. I know they came up just short against Michigan State, but I think they're improved this season. They're getting good play at the quarterback position. Bill O'Brien is getting things moving up there, and they are taking on a Stanford team that is listless right now. And this is they're ripping this thing down to the studs, trying to rebuild it. I don't know if Frank Reich is the long term answer at coach there, but I do know that Stanford is a long way from where they were in those Jim Harbaugh, David Shaw years. And the spread's big. It's 10.5 in favor of BC, but I think they cover this. Give me the Eagles, and I'll lay the points.
All right. Well, that'll do it for the virtual tailgate. You can send your questions or comments to virtualtailgate@mediabullcrap.com.
And always remember these 3 rules. Never get less than 12 hours sleep.
Never play cards with a guy that has the same first name as the city.
And never get involved with a woman with a tattoo of a dagger on her body.
Stick to that, and it's like you've got a 35-0 lead.
Nice.
That's ball game for sure.